Hi, it's Dr. Hood. I want to talk about fake meats and why we need to be wary of them and how similar they are to, in concept, to fake fats, which were introduced into our diet in the last century. So, in the last few years, we've seen the rise and prominence of fake meats or meat substitutes, plant-based meats, which are based around soybean or wheat protein or corn. And also you have cell-based meat substitutes, which are cultured cells, where you culture cells from animals in a dish or in a vat. You add growth factors, you can add scaffolding, you have to have preservatives to produce a so-called ethically superior, maybe environmentally superior product, instead of doing what we've as humans done for tens of thousands of years, which is eat meat from animals. And so this, if you look at the production of these meat substitutes, both plant and cell cultured meat substitutes, you'll find a similarity between that and the fake fats that were introduced in the early part of the last century. So we had in the early 20th century, possibly late 19th century, the introduction of hydrogenated fats. Fats which, before they were chemically altered, are not suitable for human consumption. Somehow they are hydrogenated and processed. They become a bit more palatable, and you have the hard versions, which are the margarines and shortening, and the liquid versions, which are the vegetable oils. And these are marketed over the decades as easier to use than butter, beef dripping, lard, and then healthy. Then after that, healthier for you than butter and animal fats, because they're low in cholesterol, they're low in saturated fat. And then towards the end of the century, we realized after multiple studies that they contain levels of trans fats much higher than occur in any natural product. And conclusively, the scientists proved that these trans fats do increase your risk of heart disease and probably contributed to heart disease in the 20th century. And they eventually phased out in our diet in the last 15, 20 years or so. But only after we've been exposed to them for several decades, despite being reassured that they're safe for us and they're actually healthy for us than natural meats and fats which we've been eating for centuries. They also possibly increase or likely increase your risk of cancer. And trans fats are still actually present in relatively high levels compared to natural products in vegetable oils and margarine and shortening and products which are made from them, such as heavily processed cookies and biscuits and pastries and so on. So they're still present in our diet. They haven't been completely eliminated, but not in the same levels as in the last century. So these fake fats, which we then have found out are bad for us, cause heart disease, probably cause cancer, are similar to these fake meats. We're reassured that they're safe, they're better for us, apparently, than meat which we've been eating for centuries, and that we should be consuming more of them. And the recent stories are, at the moment, they're a bit too expensive to market generally, but you can produce a burger, for example, for $50, and they'll be marketed in the high end, and over time the cost will come down so that you can eat them. But these are highly processed fake products. They have to be produced in a factory. They have to have preservatives added to them because they're not really stable. A lot of times they're loaded with processed carbohydrates. A lot of time, particularly some of the vegan burgers that were released last year, have about 20 to 30 ingredients added to them. All sorts of processed pea protein, and they have vegetable oils, which we said contain some trans fats and probably contain some other, they contain high levels of omega-6 polyunsaturated fats, which are inflammatory. All this so that we can simply avoid eating red meat, which we've been eating for centuries, millennia. The question is, why do these companies want to keep investing in these products? Because I don't think they have any concern for the environment in reality, or have a big concern for the welfare of animals. Their concern is their bottom line, their profit. And these products, if they become stable if they have long shelf lives, then they're more profitable than farmed meat. And they're riding this wave of so-called compassionate eating, when people think that doing something that we've been doing for centuries, which is eating meat, eating eggs, consuming dairy, is suddenly now unethical and should be fought against, and is actually bad. And it's actually this idea that a vegan or vegetarian diet is healthier for you has contributed significantly to the obesity and diabetes crisis that we see in the Western world, and a lot in some of the developing world, because of the infiltration of fake processed foods and this idea of chasing calories rather than chasing nutrients. So these companies do not have your health at heart. They are more concerned with profit, and obviously the meat industry is also concerned with profit. So it's your right to be cynical about both. But in reality, the meat production is something. Meat is something that we've been eating for centuries. It contains all your essential nutrients. It contains all your essential macronutrients, micronutrients, more than any processed foods, more than any plant-based foods. And it's important for you to be aware of this, be aware of the story of fake fats, and be wary of fake meats, so that you can have confidence in yourself of avoiding them and sticking to eating red meat, eggs, as well as fish and other meats, and dairy, and not be fooled by these foods, which definitely are less nutritious and less beneficial than unprocessed organic animal products, and likely have hidden dangers that you don't know about.